Today I'm going to show you how to transform patterned paper into a bold, cohesive card background. I started with a subtle cream patterned offcut with tiny rust-coloured leaves, perfect for the autumn feel we've got going on in my neighbourhood at the moment. At first glance, you might think I've used a stencil, but I actually used a stamp to create this effect, and I'm going to show you how. So the creamed pattern paper that I'm working with was originally a long strip, an offcut from a 12 by 12 patterned piece. And I cut that into 3 pieces and stuck it down to just this card front sized scrap piece of white paper that I had on hand. You can see that here the pattern no longer lines up, but this is the base for our transformation, and you'll see it all come together. The technique that I'm working with requires a solid stamped image, and I went through my stash and evaluated some of the leaf options that I had available, pulling up from that leaf theme in the paper, and I settled on the image from the cup of tea stamp set. I stamped the leaf over the panel using Versamark, and originally I thought that I would stamp several of the leaves all in one go and heat emboss it in one hit, but then I realized a flaw in that plan. I couldn't see where I'd stamped properly, so I ended up stamping it once, applying my clear powder and heat setting it, and then doing this process again on repeat to cover the full panel. This creates a resist effect. The clear heat embossing helps to trap parts of the original pattern underneath those leaves and protect those areas during the blending process to come. I built colour up using ink blending in warm autumn tones. I started with Bumblebee, a lovely warm yellow, and then built up with Terracotta and Cajun Craze. I started light and gradually deepened the colour, allowing the embossed areas to remain lighter and reveal subtle detail underneath. I embraced a little bit of a glow effect in making my blending a little bit patchy and spotty, allowing some of the yellows to shine through in behind those warmer terracotta tones. All the while, the heat embossed leaves are sitting there in the background, protecting that lighter, subtle pattern that we started with. There's a bit of magic here in this step when you use I've just used a tissue to wipe away some of the excess ink that's sitting on top of my clear embossing, and you can start to see those leaves are coming forward. I'm going to go back over it with a little bit more Cajun Craze, just really deepen that contrast with that subtle background we started with. So I'm really happy with how this lovely panel's come together. Now you can see when I hold it to the light that the leaves all still hold that lovely shine that comes from clear embossing techniques. I don't want that though. I want this piece to look like it was a single patterned piece of paper. So I'm going to use a little tip that I picked up a very long time ago from Jennifer Maguire ink, and carefully remove the clear embossing to give it a softer matte finish. And to do this, I'm going to use maybe a little bit of an unexpected tool, and that's my iron. Be careful as you do this process. I was a little hesitant because I'd realized I was working on a plastic cutting mat and I didn't want that to melt. So just be super careful with the surfaces you choose to work on. So I've applied a piece of just scrap printer paper that I had. You can see my daughter's had a little squiggle on there at some point. And I'm using that as a cover, and I'm placing that over the top of my pattern, and then I'm running the iron over it. And what that's doing is melting that clear powder and lifting it from my patterned piece. I'm going to give that a second run because I saw that there were just a few places that the clear shimmer was still sitting, so I'd missed them. And there we have it. At this point, the separate strips now look like one continuous patterned sheet, and I'm really happy with how it's turned out. From here, I finished the card using a simple sketch layout, adding a floral focal image from the Gallery Bloom stamp set, and a few finishing touches to complete the design. I'll be honest, reaching for the iron felt a little unexpected, but it worked. Now I'm curious, would you try this, or do you prefer to keep that shiny finish? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye.